The economic freedom fighters have called on France to refrain from oppressing Africans. Led by its leader, Julius Malema, party members marched to the French embassy in Pretoria earlier as part of the party's Africa Day commemoration. Before handing over a memorandum of demands, Malema called on France to release its stranglehold on former African colonies. He says Paris needs to stop micromanaging African affairs. Later, officials from the embassy came out to receive the memorandum.
We commend and appreciate the work of revolutionary anti-colonial forces that are beginning to undermine French colonialism, particularly in Mali, and call on all neo-colonized people under the so-called Francophone to reject France's colonial rulership and control.
Well, for more on this story, let's cross now to SABC News political reporter Kenny Mapanga. Thank you very much for joining us, Kenny. So Julius Malema handed over the memorandum, but the French officials refused to sign it. Tell us more.
Good afternoon to you, Nombu, and to the viewers at home. I'm currently coming to you live from the French Embassy in Pretoria, where we have Ambassador Le Chevalier, who's going to give us an update as to what is the French's response to the EFF's demands on Africa Day, where they're calling for the removal of France from African countries. As you may know, some of these countries, the citizens that are members of these countries, such as Mali, Burkina Faso, also joined in the picket today to support the EFF's call. But not to waste any time, let's go straight to the French Ambassador, whose time is limited with us. French Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us. We would like to know, what is the French Embassy's response to this resolute and clear call by the EFF, as well as some citizens of these former French colonies, saying that they want the French out of these African countries?
Well, thank you very much and welcome to the French Embassy. The EFF came to us legally and peacefully as a demonstration, so it was normal to engage a dialogue with them. So we took over their message and their statements. But the problem is, they are blaming France for all the problems in Africa. We are responsible for everything. I mean, France or the West or someone else. There is always someone to blame, for all the challenges of Africa. So today is France. And we don't see scapegoating as a proper policy. I think it's not fair to scapegoat or to blame France. So what we answer is that France today is a partner of Africa, is a friend of the African nations. We stand for an independent Africa, a sovereign Africa, and we want to strengthen our bonds with Africa.
Does France not take any accountability for the state of these countries in Africa?
Well, as a partner, we share a long history. History with difficult hours and beautiful hours. There are lots of human links between Africa and France. And even President Thabo Mbeki once said that France is an African country, meaning that we have these long-lasting ties and history with the continent. So, of course, we are ready to look at the history together. We are ready to take account the past. We have to live with it. But today, there is, I think, an ongoing, very vibrant relation and cooperation between France and the African nations. And what we do on a daily basis is to stand by the African people and to stand by the African nations.
Mm-hmm. The French officials took some time to leave these embassies headquarters to get to the EFF stage. What were some of your reservations?
No, we were waiting for the demonstration, to continue. But at some point, they wanted us to come on stage and to sign a document, etc. Obviously, that was not possible because, this is not our statement. Mm-hmm. And so, but we accept always the dialogue with democratic partners, and we are ready to engage in any kind of discussion as long as it's peaceful and legal, of course.
Do you believe that independence could be achieved if these French systems are still so pervasive? Why are they still so pervasive in these countries?
Well, I think these countries, all around Africa, they are independent. What they need to build now is stronger democracies. And we are at their side. It's not France that prevents prevents, these African partners from being more, independent. That's not our view of the situation at all. And what we can do is to support democratic actors on the ground, the civil society, women empowerment, to face our common challenges. That's really our policy today vis-à-vis Africa.
Some of the demands by the EFF, as well as some of the citizens of these countries that have joined this picket, have been calling for the full independence of these countries to be granted, the removal of all of your military bases in some of these countries. What is your response to some of these demands?
Well, again, we are talking about independent countries. And I think it's not, right to blame France for the situation and all the challenges. And when it comes to the military presence, there are indeed military soldiers in Africa, but always when the African governments are requesting these French soldiers to be on the ground. So it's really a partnership, it's mutual. It's when we need together, for example, to face the terrorist threats or terrorist groups, then we fight together. But we are never imposing or forcing a country or people to accept the French military presence. We are working under the aegis of the United Nations with our international partners, and that's always like it today, and we are transparent and reliable partners.
What about the payment of reparations to your former colonies? What is your response to that?
Well, my response, and it was the response of the president in October last year in Montpellier, when we gather a lot of people coming from young African civil societies, is that we should look at the history together.
Unfortunately, Ambassador, thank you so much for your time, but we have run out of time at this program. Thank you so much, Nompu. The EFF have just concluded their pickets. The French embassy has 14 days to respond. As you can see, there isn't a clear answer yet, and the memorandum is yet to be signed, but in 14 days we should be able to get a response from the French embassy as to what they're saying to the EFF's call for the removal of funds from African countries. Over to you in studio.
Thanks very much, my colleague there, Kenny Mapanga.